turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher.
And welcome back. I'm Mike with the Turntable Teachers, and class is back in session. Here for another guest speaker episode at AOA Studios. If you're an artist, podcaster, or content creator of any kind, make sure to reach out to us at aoastudios.org to book your session or service today. And I'm joined today by a very special guest. He's back. He was on Zoom the first time during COVID, so it's nice to actually have you in person this time. He's a hip-hop artist, one really rising big time in the scene here. So if you're familiar with the Massachusetts music scene, you should know this man, but if you don't, you're going to get a great introduction to him today. Everyone, please welcome Suriel to the show. Man, thank you so much for being here. It's so great to see you, bro.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Anytime. No, it's great to have a good friend of the show.
Yeah,
always coming back, and I know we had a good conversation, like I said, on Zoom first, but it's going to be a lot better to have you here in person.
I'm excited, man.
Welcome back. So yeah, the first time we had you, we talked a lot about some of your past work and, you know, your upbringing with music and stuff like that, which is really cool. So, you know, we can skip a lot of that today and talk more about like what you got going on a lot lately, because you've been having so much great things happening and you got so much traction, which has been really cool. So, but we are going to start with the objective, where we get to know a little bit about you and your background.
Yeah.
One question that I have in the objective, this segment will be a little bit briefer than it normally is. So anybody that wants a little bit more background on Suriel, you can obviously listen to the first episode with him. But recently, or within the last year or so, you dropped a really cool music video that actually, like, I was somewhat a part of with Heaven Knows, which is really dope. And
wait, how are you a part of it? Oh yeah.
I was like, wait, do I have the wrong song? It's okay. Not so much the video, not the video. No, yeah, that's okay. It's all good. We're here.
Yep.
And it was really cool that you were able to film some of it at the, please excuse me if I mispronounce it, the Emmaus House in or Emmaus Incorporated in Haverhill.
Yeah.
And I know that specific location means a lot to you, just from like a longevity standpoint, growing up and stuff like that. So I was just curious, like, what did it mean for you to do a project or like a music video like that in a place that maybe means so much to you from like your younger formative years?
That video was special because it was like, you know, that place was where I started making music. I lived in a shelter home, which was the Emmaus shelter home, and I lived there when I was like 12 years old, and that was around the time I started writing music. And so I felt like I had to share that story, and I feel like, you know, which is what my next project is really going to be about, sharing that story. And I wanted to really go back to the place where it all started from. And, you know, luckily they were able to let me do that. And it was really dope that they let me do that. And it was just like a full circle moment for me to talk about, you know, where I came from to where, you know, the kind of life I'm living now, which is completely different, and it's great. So that was awesome, man. Like, I mean, when I was doing it, I felt emotional. Like, I remember Tange was shooting the video, and I was like, bro, like, this is really crazy, because there was like families like outside looking at me, and like kids wanted to come say like hello to me. Like, I had cards and stuff like outside and everything. It was crazy. So definitely a cool moment for sure. Full circle moment.
That's so awesome. And it feels like a way, like you said, for you to like inspire that next generation of kids that might be going through similar things that you went through, which is like really great. And it's awesome that you were able to, you know, utilize, you know, and sort of hone in on some of your passions and skills, even still like in a situation like that. So that's really a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I know you had just recently done like a fundraiser for them too, which is really cool. So talk to me a little bit about, it was maybe about a year ago or so.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about that and, you know, your mission behind giving back, not only just, you know, giving them, you know, a look and some, you know, credit within the music video, but then like, you kind of putting your money where your mouth is, so to speak, and, you know, helping them out from a fundraising standpoint.
Yeah, it just means a lot to be able to give back. I mean, you know, those were challenging times for my family at the time. And I see the work that shelter home still is doing. I mean, I lived there in 2008 or something like that. So that was a long time ago, and they're still doing it, and they're still helping, thousands of families with job opportunities, money. Not really money, but more like food and like housing and all those things, and like helping them really find a way to get back on track. And I just felt like that was important, and I wanted to help in any way that I could. So me and my team kind of figured out a way to be involved with their fundraiser and help, help in our way, help them, allow them, or like help them to continue what they're doing. So it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I think
Definitely
it goes
fulfilling.
Oh, for sure. And I think it goes to show too, you don't need to be this giant, major label artist to, or athlete or whatever it is to like, practice philanthropy and give back. Like, I think that that's a really cool message too, that you're able to like do through that. So
Yeah, man. I mean, it impacted me, so I wanted to impact or just find a way to be involved in what they do, because it's just really important work for sure. And I saw how it impacted me and my family, and it's very special work that they do.
absolutely. And I want to pivot a little bit too, because I know you also from Lynn, and you've lived in Lynn for some of your life, and the Lynn music scene just feels like it's going crazy right now.
Man.
And so, talk to me about your early years in the Lynn music scene, and then where you see it going, and how it's really gotten now with just so many different. I feel like so many different artists, producers, and all different facets of being part of that.
It's definitely when I first started putting out music, like 2018. It was just like a few artists that had any recognition outside of Lynn, and that was cool. But like, I felt like I was able to try to share as many opportunities as I could with other artists, like putting them on shows or whatever. And now, shout out to J Moon and KMF, who've been putting together their whole scene over there, like helping people with distribution, helping people with artist development, helping people with just platforms. And what they're doing is great, man. It's like not only just their movement, but they're allowing other artists to flourish and grow. And it's really dope to see, because it's becoming, outside of Boston, its own like section, like its own like hub of music and great artists. Like every time I go and I like sit in on one of the, either a show or recently it was like a it was like a podcast. I mean, it wasn't really a podcast. It was more like they had somebody from a company called Vidya do like just explain like what their company offers, and it was just dope to see how many artists were just putting out great music, like really dope music. So the Lynn scene is definitely grown. I think the North Shore scene is growing in general, and it's cool to see. Definitely.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, then I feel like it's really cool that like now in Massachusetts we have like these different pockets of scenes, but they're all still, a lot of them I still feel like overlap in a lot of ways too. Like you have like a whole Merrimack Valley like scene going with Lowell, Lawrence, Methuen, obviously with Nowhere, and obviously the great talent that's up in Lawrence, and then like you said, North Shore of course has got its thing going, and then of course Boston, and even like south of that, Western Mass has got a scene now. It's Brockton especially, right? Exactly. So
yeah, man,
it's really cool.
That is dope. It's like it's starting to feel like New York a little bit. Like New York's got all these different sections. Like we got our own sections now going on, and everybody's got their own different taste on everything, their own different twist on everything, and it's dope.
Yeah,
so many talented people, man.
I know it's a beautiful thing. It really is. You've been going to New York a little bit more recently too, right? I saw.
Yeah, I love New York, man.
Yeah.
New York is like my favorite city, man. Honestly, like I love it there. There's just so much to do. Shout out to Termanology, because he's been allowing me to kind of go out with him and meet new people, like get better connections with like Static, Selecta, and met Paul Wall, and just go to listening parties and stuff like that. So I plan on doing some stuff in New York myself, but I just love being out there. It's great. It's a great city. Great, like inspirational city for me, because I go out there and it's just so much going on, like art, music, culture, food even, and it just like inspires me in a different way to come back and just kind of be able to tap back in the studio.
I think anytime you step outside your comfort zone, and anytime you just get a new experience in general, it's inspiring.
I agree, but New York is different, man.
100%. Yeah.
New York is dope, man.
What's one thing that's like surprised you a lot about your travels to New York, or like your experiences so far in New York, that maybe you didn't know or think of before you went there?
I just, I used to think it was a lot more crowded and a lot more busier than I thought, than it actually is. Like, so I feel really comfortable there. At first I would be like, like New York is crazy, so too much going on over there. But nah, it's like so ill. Like once you find like the things you like to do, there's just endless things. Like if you find a niche in New York, there's like so many things about that. Like I like art, for example. So just going to art museums over there is really dope. They have little art galleries that you just can't find in the city, like around here. So it's just really cool for me. Just being around creatives and creativity really inspires me. And I feel like there's a lot more access to that in New York than in Boston.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it is nice, though, that at least it's a drivable distance to get there and stuff like that, which is nice.
And not to take anything away from Boston. I love Boston, too. But
oh, of course.
New York is really cool, man.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot going on there for sure. So, now I want to definitely transition to the main lesson, talk a little bit about some of the music you've been going on, some of the shows you've been playing. Like, you've been doing just a lot of cool stuff lately.
Yeah, man.
Specifically, let's start with the Turning Point, the mixtape that you just dropped exclusively on your website, which is really dope. I just recently had Najee Janey in here, and he was talking about how he just recently put out his album exclusively on a platform called EvenBiz, which and he was giving me some game and telling me a little bit about that and our listeners, which is really cool. And I feel like nowadays, you know, there's almost becoming a pivot now with artists putting music out on different platforms than just like your regular DSPs. And so my question to you, of just from like your perspective, why did you decide to specifically put this mixtape on your website for free instead of DSPs? And, you know, what do you think was the added benefit or reason and why you chose to do something like that before we like dive into the actual musicality?
So first of all, I wanted to do a mixtape because I had like a little gap time between, you know, planning a release for the project. And I didn't want to just not put out music in the meantime. So for me, that was just, I wanted to make a project. And I was really inspired by Lil Wayne mixtapes at the time. And so I was like, look, I'm going to just find the beats that I like right now, and I'm going to just find a way to do my own twist on them. And the reason we decided to do it specifically through our website is because we want our fans, like my fans, to be able to find a way to directly get to my music. And I kind of want to explore that option because, you know, as everybody's seen probably or whatever, like Spotify doesn't really pay artists well. Like you get, you know, it's nice to get the streams, and streaming is such an important factor because that's how like companies gauge your popularity.
Totally.
Or for other investors or whatever, or like any kind of collaborations, people gauge, oh, how popular are you on Spotify? But the popularity on Spotify doesn't feed you necessarily unless you're like doing millions and millions and millions of streams. So it's tough. Whereas I can sell my product or my album I could sell it for however amount and have 100 people buy it. And I made way more than getting 1 million streams would ever get me financially. So it makes a lot more sense. And I understand why artists are doing that because it's just like, you know, you put so much time and money into creating something for it to not give you a return doesn't really make sense. So I definitely think that exploring that option, like a lot of artists are doing that, like even bigger artists are kind of getting to that point where it's like, I want to go direct to the consumer and get sales that way because it just makes more sense. Like why put out music album after album after album and not really get any money back? Like don't get me wrong, you'll make some money back off of shows and you'll make some money back on other opportunities, but from the music it's like, why make it? Or why put so much time into putting it out if you're not getting any money back from it? So,
and the music is such the catalyst for some of those other business opportunities,
exactly.
Like you were saying.
So it's an interesting thing. I mean, you know, you have to get the Spotify numbers so you can get the opportunities, but you also want to make sure you get money too. So it's like it's a kind of a balance. That's why you haven't seen people fully go into direct to consumer yet, right? Because they also understand that to get looks, you need that Spotify.
That is one of, like you said, that's one of the first things that a lot of even touring managers and artists that are touring around when they're going, you know, let's say they're coming to Boston and they're trying to find openers, like one of the first things they go to is the Spotify monthly listeners.
Spotify is like the gauge right now for an artist.
What do you think, or well, I mean, I know Spotify has such and this is more of like a, I guess, philosophical question when it comes to music business, but like, why do you think that is? Like, why do you think it's Spotify monthly listeners specifically is just like the gauge for it? And like, what would be like a better alternative for that? Because I almost feel like it's lazy.
It is. I mean, you can inflate those numbers and you can make it look like you have way more than you actually have.
Well, that too, yeah.
So but it's just the easy way to just look like real quick. Like you find an artist and you're like, all right, let me look at the monthly listeners.
I even find myself doing
and then
it.
You're
Yeah.
like, okay, this is how popular they are. But it's not necessarily always the case. You know what I mean? It's just the easy way to do it. It's just like you look and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I wish that, you know, it would be nice if there was some, maybe there is something out there that would maybe bring all of those numbers. Like again, like, cause again, you have to think about too, like, you know, someone might not have like crazy streaming numbers on a Spotify, but like maybe their streams on like YouTube for their music videos is much better. Maybe they have more subscribers there. Like, you know what I mean? Like everyone kind of has their platform.
YouTube and Spotify are probably the biggest gauges for people to know where you kind of stand as an artist, but there's still artists that have the YouTube views and the Spotify and then they can't do a show. So it really is it's a weird thing. I mean,
It is.
There's no real way to gauge it. I mean, I think the best way to actually gauge an artist is ticket sales, because that's the way you know for sure people are going to show up. They care.
Totally.
You know, I think that would be the proper gauge.
Yeah.
For an artist.
And I think what's beneficial, and Najee and I were kind of having a similar conversation, what's beneficial about the direct-to-consumer thing is like you can literally gauge who is buying your albums, your merchandise, like, and then that
and that's the point.
It's
of
helpful.
It. That's the point of it. Like you on Apple Music, you put out an album, you don't really know who bought it. You can't tell, right? It's like, whereas if you sell it, you can get the email, you can get all the contact, and now you can find out that this person actually likes my music is somebody who's actually going to buy into my brand, and I can now advertise to them directly and contact them directly. So there's a lot more benefits. Like as a business owner, you know, being an artist is a business, right? So you're looking at who's buying my album. Let me make sure I advertise to them, like make sure they get special access to stuff and make sure they buy into the brand more. You know what I mean? Give them more opportunities to really experience the brand itself, versus, you know, just throwing stuff out there and seeing hopefully it sticks and then not knowing who's actually buying it. You know what I mean? Now you actually, because I mean, the good thing about like Apple and the good thing about Spotify is it give you demographics so you can see like what areas,
right?
But you don't really know the person. It's the person themselves who is actually doing it. So
yeah, so maybe like it's just a mix of all of those things then is what's important, right? Like yeah, those Spotify numbers and those analytics are really, and the YouTube ones as well, like they're helpful and they're great, but it's also nice to know, like you said, like the real people that are buying your products and buying into the brand.
You know, I think the biggest value or that an artist can bring to the table is like showing, okay, I can sell this, I can sell tickets, I can sell albums, versus I can put out a song and it has 1,000 or 100,000 streams, which could be fake or could be skewed or could be whatever. It could be a one-off situation. It's like so many different variables to that, but it's different than being like, okay, I can sell consistently 1,000 albums, 5,000 albums. That's way different. That holds way more value to an artist than being like, yeah, I have 1 million streams 100%. On one song or an album or something, like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I'm not trying to take away, because that also holds a lot of value. Like if you can do that consistently, then you're up for sure. But to be able to sell 5,000 albums independently is like amazing.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, there's a book out there. I've mentioned it maybe a long time ago on different episodes, but it's like it's called 1,000 True Fans, and they say that if you're a business or you're an artist or whatever, as long as you have 1,000 loyal fans, customers, whatever it is, you can make an honest again, you're maybe not going to be a millionaire, but you're going to make an honest living.
That's a starting point. Like you get 1,000 like people to buy into something like that. Those people are the people that'll help your business spread. You know, and those are the people that will like ride or die for your for your company or your brand, as long as it resonates with them. You know, and that's what's important.
Absolutely. Now I want to talk a little bit more about the actual music on the Turning Point.
Sure.
It's a really great album, or excuse me, mixtape. And 7 tracks for anybody that hasn't heard it. You can go on Suriel781.com.
Yep.
And literally listen to it for free, and then you can buy. Can you buy it as well?
It's just free. It's all free.
It's all free.
I just did it fully free.
Awesome. I love that. And it's mostly just you. You have a J Moon feature on the back song Langston Hughes, which is probably one of my favorite joints on that whole thing. That beat just goes so crazy. I feel like on this album, mixtape. On this mixtape, I feel like it was a lot of you just exercising the pen and, really just honing in on the craft that like you've really been doing now for the last like 7-8 years of your career. So what was it, or how do you feel with this body of work in particular, and especially going into the EP that which we'll talk about in a little bit, but the EP you're sort of moving into, what was it about this mixtape that really shows a lot of your fans and any like new potential fans that you might get over the course of the next few months? Like, what did you want to showcase specifically on this mixtape that maybe you weren't able to before?
Sometimes, like when I make music, it's like so driven by the story that sometimes like I get away from just rapping for fun. Almost like not saying that I make songs, like I make songs just to make songs, and then I kind of piece them together afterwards. But like for the Turning Point, it was different. I was like, yo, I'm gonna just make songs because I want to show that I can rap on anybody's beat, or take a beat, like there's a SZA beat on there that I looped. I forget the Smoking on My X-Pac or something like that. It's a song from hers, and I made it into Bestie, and I looped the beat, and I just went crazy on the song, you know what I mean? And it was just showing, like, I just wanted to show creativity. I wanted to show that I can rap just as good as any rapper on anybody's beat. You know, there's a Lil Wayne, 2 Chainz beat, there's a Drake beat, there's a J. Cole beat, there's Kanye beat. So, like, I wanted to show that, and I was inspired by Lil Wayne, so like I was listening to the Lil Wayne mixtapes for like the last 3-4 months, and I was like, bro, like this guy is just nasty. So I wanted to just feel like that. Even Bestie, like Bestie, the song Bestie was completely inspired by Lil Wayne, like fully. Like I didn't, because like I'll play it like I'll be with a good girl or something. I'll play it. She'll be like, so who did you write that about? And I'm like, I didn't write it about anybody specifically. It's just like a collection of things. But I was trying to like rap like Lil Wayne on that one. You know what I mean? So Lil Wayne is a big influence for me. And that was a whole inspiration behind the Turning Point. But we recorded the whole thing in one night, actually in 4 hours.
No kidding, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, me and J Moon, we made a documentary, but we didn't like put it out. We're just holding on to it for now. But yeah, the whole thing was done in one night. It was crazy. J Moon was the engineer. KMF Trey was the engineer. And we just went crazy that night.
Yeah. That's really cool. I love that. Well, hopefully that we get to see that documentary at some point.
Yeah, that was really fun, man. And it was just fun. Like that was just purely for fun. Not trying to make any like money off of it, not trying to do anything. It was just like exercising and just having fun.
And I think sometimes it's good to go back to that. Like we talked a little about earlier about, you know, the artistry and the music business, right? And that's obviously an important piece of this. But I think it's one of those things where every once in a while you got to just go back and feed that inner child, or that inner child that loved hip hop from the start.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And I'll do that like in the future on more projects too. But like for the last project, what can I say that I put out was like really story driven and
that was
heavy.
That was heavy. Yeah.
This one is also kind of like a little bit heavier because I'm telling like a story. So I wanted to kind of have some middle ground. I mean, I've also been working on another album, which is like way more in the realm of like the turning, but it's like a combination of the Turning Point and the current project. So it's like more fun. But yeah, man, I just gotta find the balance of both, because you know, the music business is not as fun as just rapping for fun.
Of course.
You know
exactly. Yeah. Totally. Absolutely. How great would it be if you could just rap for fun and just,
you have to find a way to like, you know, there's singles, there's all these things that go into it. You have to make sure you're you know, kind of checking off things off the checklist to make sure it's ready for the market. So whereas this mixtape was just all for fun. Yeah.
And that is one thing I've noticed about your music, and one thing I've loved and respected about your music is the storytelling, and that everything being story driven. Like I know last time you were on the show, we had talked, I think you had just dropped What Can I Say? Yeah. And we were talking a lot about, you know, the background of that story, and like you having the seizure and just like being in the hospital, and like that whole just almost comeback story. Like it was, and then the visuals that accompanied it. And I feel like a lot of your visuals, a lot of the times, tell great stories as well. So I think that you have a good eye in a lot of ways of that, which we'll get into some of that as well. And I want to talk about the EP as well. But before we dive into more of the main lesson, it's actually time for a pop quiz.
Sure.
So he's like, sure. So we get a lot of reactions on this when I say pop quiz. Some people are like so scarred from maybe taking a pop quiz when they were in high school.
I was
and
good at tests.
This is the type of energy we need here. So people are like, oh no, a pop quiz. Anyway, For anybody that's a fan of Suriel and just being introduced to us for the first time, Pop Quiz is a segment on our show where we ask our guests rapid fire questions.
Cool.
And some of the questions have to do with music and some have absolutely nothing to do with music at all. The catch is they're all about you.
Cool.
So you can't fail.
Fair.
Unless you don't know yourself.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. So describe your experience rapping over a dance hall beat on DJ Foreign's Jammin' 94.5 mix. I'd heard that pretty recently. I thought that was cool.
Man. Honestly, all right. So he sent me some beats, some songs. He's like, yo, man, if you can, he's like, try to rap on some of these beats. Let's see what we could do and try to get something up for the radio. So like he sent me the songs. I heard them all and I was like, not really feeling it. Like I was like, they're kind of out of I was in such a focused realm because I've been working on this album and it's like, I wasn't in that realm, like working on that. So then my managers were like, bro, what are you doing? Like, just do something, like at least anything. And I was like, all right. So then I rapped on the Shensia song and it came out really great. Like, he loved it and he played it on the radio for a couple months consistently. And shout out to Foreign because he's always like giving me opportunities and we're always trying to find ways to collaborate. But that was really dope. That was a really fun experience. It was different and it was more of like a pop sound for me, which I hadn't really explored. Every once in a while I do, but it was cool. I had a great time doing it.
It was cool to hear you on a different style beat, for sure.
Dope.
That was definitely different. You'd mentioned it a little bit earlier, and I want to kind of come back to it. You love spending some of your free time at museums.
Yeah.
You're a big museum guy. So which museum I have a couple of questions about museums. Which museum is the best or most memorable that you've been to so far?
The Louvre in France, obviously.
Wow.
That one's sick. I mean, the Louvre and the Sistine Chapel in Italy.
Oh, so you've seen both of those?
Yeah, I mean, I have a tattoo from the Sistine Chapel, like Creation of God right here.
That's sick.
Or Creation of Adam, I believe this is what it's called, by Michelangelo. And I have this piece from the Louvre, which is like I forget the name of it, but it's a Nike without a head, which is really dope. And that's why I got it, because it was like dope. But I love art, so like it inspires my music a lot more than people know. Like I'll go to the museum, like even the MFA. I just walk around, listen to like some album that just came out or whatever, and then I'll go to the studio and make music, and it's like
awesome.
super inspiring. Like there's something about art and music, like when I'm experiencing music with art, it's like almost like a breathtaking experience for me. I don't know, I can't explain it. And so when I feel moved like that, then I can create something that I haven't, like I feel like I access different places that I haven't been able to get to without the art.
That's really cool. I actually didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
And that's like definitely a different like way to process it. But you started something to be said about like getting more of your senses involved.
Yeah, 100%.
When
like I'm like, because not only like Watch the Throne is an album that I love, right? Or like
totally.
My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, or those are art to me. Those albums are actually art. Like you listen to, like there's certain albums that you listen to and like you can't explain how you feel when you're listening to it, and it's like that's how I feel when I see really cool art. When I see, like in the Sistine Chapel, I was blown away completely, like looking around, surrounded, completely immersed into art. And that's how music is supposed to feel if it's right. And so I try to emulate that feeling when I make music, and I try, especially now, trying to make sure that it feels like art.
I really love that.
Yeah.
And I you bring up a good point too about like certain albums that like there's great albums that I can listen to, just like, again, it depends on the circumstance, but like, there's great albums that are just fun to listen to in the car and you're not really overthinking it too much. But then, like you said, those two examples you gave, I think Watch the Throne and specifically My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, like it takes you somewhere else. Like the imagery, if you close your eyes and listen to an album like that, like the imagery that you can see, it's like it's like you said, it's hard to explain, but there's albums that will literally take you somewhere else. I feel like from a visual standpoint, you know what I mean?
Like you can envision like everything, like and not even like stuff that you don't even know. Like you're just like experiencing something that is unexplainable, and that is what good art is supposed to do, and that's why I love art, man.
That's awesome. That's so cool. What's the most underrated museum that you think not enough people talk about?
I don't really know. I haven't really been to one that's like super underrated, to be honest. Like that I thought was like really great. So I have to do some more exploring.
Okay, fair enough.
That. Yeah.
Is there a museum that you'd like to go to around the world that you haven't seen yet?
I mean, the Louvre. I want to go back to the Louvre. I mean, that's just the best museum in the world. So I mean, there's other ones. Like there's other pieces that I want to see. Like I want to go to Mexico City. They have, I think, Frida Kahlo Museum.
Oh, Frida Kahlo, yeah.
I want to go see Pablo Picasso. He has his own museum, I believe, as well. There's a lot of art that I still want to see, but I feel like I've already seen some of the best art in the world, which is amazing, and I want to continue to be around it and stuff like that. So MFA does a great job. They have a bunch of new stuff. Like recently, they have like Salvador Dali exhibit,
nice.
which is really dope. Which I recently saw, and it reminds me of Courage the Cowardly Dog a lot.
Does it really?
Yeah,
I remember Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Like the eerie like characters and stuff like that. It reminds me of that.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'll have to look back at some Salvador Dali.
It's cool, bro. It's definitely cool.
Yeah.
Check it out if you get a chance.
I will. No, Courage the Cowardly Dog was like one of my favorite shows.
That was an amazing show. Yeah. So I don't know why, but like I was sitting there like thinking like, whoa, this is like really much, like very much like it.
Huh. Interesting. What makes Kid Cudi's show How to Make It in America such a great show in your opinion? What do you like so much about that show?
That is the best show of all time, man. Like that is the most number one show for hustlers. Like I used to watch that show when I was a kid, and I didn't have HBO, so I used to like bootleg it, like watch it on whatever stream it. Like I don't know, I used to scour the internet to find it, and just watch every episode. First of all, Kid Cudi was my favorite rapper at the time. So that was why I wanted to be into it. But then like watching the show, it was about these two dudes who were just trying to like start a clothing company in New York City. And they were just mid-20s, just trying to figure it out. They didn't really have all the money. They didn't really have all the resources, but they were ambitious enough to keep going and find it. And eventually they became successful. And you have to watch all the twists and turns that it takes. And it's just very real. Like it's like scenarios that are very, very realistic. And as a high school kid, when I was watching it, I was like, bro, like, this is what I want my life to be like, you know? And so now I rewatch it every so often because it's like it's like 30-minute episodes, and it's like 10 episodes for the first season. And it just brings me back to just being like, man, like, you got to just keep hustling no matter what. The thing about that show is like, you keep going and it just keeps happening. And that's something that I've always found is like, no matter what, as long as you keep going, it will keep happening. Like everything will keep happening.
I think it's good advice and a good sentiment to live by. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. I'm a big Cudi fan, as you know. I get Man on the Moon literally behind you. So
definitely that album is amazing. Man. One of my favorite albums.
I know we're on the same page. So like high school years, just that album was life changing in a lot of ways.
Literally,
like hearing somebody talk about the things he was talking about at the time was just so cool.
That was like one of the only albums I've ever purchased for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, likewise. All right. So I know that Halo and Assassin's Creed were two of your favorite video games. So if one had to go, if you could only play one of the two for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
Assassin's Creed. Because Halo is cool, but like it's not immersive. You know what's crazy though? So I went to Italy and I went to Venice.
Okay.
And I used to play Assassin's Creed 2. I think it was a lot when I was younger. Mm-hmm. And it was like all about Leonardo da Vinci and like all this stuff. And when I was in Venice, I played that game so much that I was like, yo, I know I've been here before. Like I know exactly where I am. So like Assassin's Creed 2 was really super influential, and all the Assassin's Creeds were really fun for me. So Halo was fun if you have like if you're playing online, but it can get boring pretty quickly. I like storylines, and Assassin's Creed definitely is more immersive that way.
Fair enough. All right, what are your go-to orders at Sparky's in Haverhill and Strega in the North End? I know those are two of your favorite restaurants.
Shout out to Strega Dave, man. I don't know. Do you know Dave?
I don't.
Bro, Dave is the man. So he's like pretty much runs Strega, and I just kind of go for whatever he recommends. Last time I don't remember what the order was, but he's great. So I go there often, or not as often as I should, but whenever I get a chance to, I go, and he always just hooks me up with like cool drinks or like cool food. So I don't really have a specific thing from Strega.
Gotcha.
Sparky's, they have like these I'm just trying to think of the name. I try different things. The last time I was there, I had like some sweet honey, like sweet and spicy wings. But Sparky's is funny because I shot Heaven Knows in Sparky's as well.
Right.
And Sparky's was like across the street from the Boys Club in Haverhill. And I used to when I lived in the shelter home, I would just like find ways to hustle like $6 so I can go get some wings. And I would like play basketball, like hustle people in basketball, hustle people in pool, like whatever it was, just to be like, yo, like just to get those $6 to go get some spicy wings over at Sparky's. So that's just a super iconic spot for me, man.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I know you're a big fan of pho as well. What's a good place to get that? Or pho, excuse me.
Yeah, Pho Town. I call it Pho. I mean, Pho Town. Pho Town is in like Medford, I believe. That's my favorite one. And then Pho Paris and Pho Minh Key in Lynn.
Cool.
Dope spots.
Very good. And my last question in the pop quiz. So I know you to have pretty much phenomenal fashion sense. Like I think you really are always well dressed. Every time I see you out, you're always well dressed. You're always wearing something completely different, which is really dope. Yeah. So my question to you though is, or two, I guess it's a two-parter. What makes Birkenstock sandals so elite? I know you just bought a pair of those recently and you're like infatuated with them. And then what's one article of clothing in your closet that you couldn't be without?
All right, so the Birkenstocks is hilarious because I was like totally against it. And I did a photo shoot and styled by Trend. I don't know, or Trend, she's like a influencer who does styling as well. And she was like, me and her and Neff Shooter, we did like a photo shoot, collaborative photo shoot where we did like music, we did like reels, we did photo shoots, and we did just like she was styled everything. So we kind of all three of us put it together to kind of do photos for the album. And I remember she was like, "Oh, we should get some Birkenstocks for you." And I was like, "Yo, like I can't. I'm not about to wear Birkenstocks. Like, what are you talking about?" And her and her assistant Melly, she was like, "No, they're really cool. Like, they're really comfortable." And even Neff was like, "Nah, man, they're really comfortable. Like, they form to your feet, all this stuff." So I was like, "All right, bro. Like, I got them." And ever since I got them, like, I haven't stopped wearing them. They're actually mad comfortable, and they look really nice. So
cool.
Very comfortable. What was the second question?
Second question was, what's one article of clothing or a piece of clothing in your, it could be an accessory too if you want, in your closet that you couldn't live without?
I just think I think sneakers is what I really likes the most. Sneakers. I'm not really like, I like to look good and whatever, but sneakers is what probably the article of clothing that I like the most. So I try to just have a bunch of sneakers. You know,
do you have a pair of sneakers that you like love
right
the best?
now? These ones, 1960R New Balance, are my favorite, most comfortable shoes that I'm wearing, like that I've been wearing, and I've had them in rotation since I got them.
Dope.
So they're fucking awesome.
Love it. That was Pop Quiz with Suriel. You did great. A+, bro. The new EP you got coming out recently. So tell me as much as you can, right? You know, as much as you would like to share. Whether it be concept or, you know, what phase you're in currently in creating it, when it might be released, whatever you want to share about the new EP that is on the way but isn't quite out yet.
No, it's done. It's just probably a couple months away.
Okay.
And it's called the Shelter Tape, and it's really dope because it just is kind of like going back to being 12 years old and like seeing things in the shelter home and seeing how it could have like affected you in a negative way, but not letting it get to that, you know, like kind of seeing, all right, like, you know, there's kids that get so like moved by their environment that it becomes them. And then there's people who see what their environment is and try to be away from it and try to like kind of have like that like understanding that this isn't what I want in life and I have to do whatever I can to not be in this situation. And that's kind of like what the narrative is for that project, is like me seeing like, all right, I don't want to have this be my life and I want to find a way to get out of this. And so that's kind of like, it goes into that mentality of like seeing what I don't like and trying to find a way out of it.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it. How many tracks? Like, is it just gonna be just you?
It's six tracks. It's mainly just me. I mean, I have some like features, but nobody rapping on it.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Well, the Shelter Tape people, make sure you be on the lookout, I should say, for it in the next few months. Yeah. From Suriel, but the Turning Point should hopefully
the Turning Point. It's great. Album.
Hold you over in the
great
meantime.
Mixtape. So fun.
So this won't be out at the time. By the time you've done this, but you are performing this weekend at Termanology and Friends, which is awesome. Great opportunity. And then you just recently performed at the Locks.
Yeah, that was
30th
amazing,
anniversary.
Man.
That's crazy. I want to talk about that one first specifically. Yeah. Like, what was it like opening for literal legends like the Locks, right?
Man,
and
so,
for the 30th, and it was at Roadrunner.
Yep.
And the crowd looked like it was fantastic and packed out. So Talk to me about how that experience, was, and maybe even how it came to be.
Yeah.
And yeah.
All right, so let me backtrack. Maybe 3-4 months ago,
Okay.
I was at Roadrunner and I was watching Sampha.
Oh my God.
I don't know exactly how to pronounce his name.
So good.
Is it Sampha?
Sampha.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
So-
incredible.
So I went to Sampha and I was with my friend Neff, who does a lot of my pictures, and another one of my friends, and we were just watching Sampha, right? And he's like really just amazing, right? And we're like, yo, it's so crazy that this dude is just one day he's from London, so one day he was just like, dreaming that he's gonna sell out shows all over the world or whatever, and now we're like literally living inside of his dream. Like this is him dreaming right now, like coming to life, and we're in it. And we were just talking about how dope it would be to perform at Roadrunner. Fast forward, my manager hits me up. He's like, yo, I got you booked for the Locks. And I'm like, yo, what? Like, shout out to Pat, man. And he was like, yo,
Love Pat.
I got you booked for the Locks. Pat. I'm like, what, bro? That's crazy, because Styles P is one of my favorite rappers of all time. Like, I don't know, he might have crept into my top 5 recently, but like amazing. Like, I love Jadakiss too, but like Styles P for me like resonates so much. So when I listen to Styles P, it gets me in like a different headspace. Like I just want to like grind and like be focused on what I'm doing, and that's what I like about music. Like music that gets me in that headspace. So shout out to Styles P. But to get a chance to meet him, me and him like talked like for a few minutes, and we met like we dapped each other up like 3-4 times throughout the night, which was like so dope. And then being around Jadakiss and Sheik was really amazing. But the show was my biggest show I've ever done yet, and it was amazing, man. It was just great to be in the moment, like being backstage the whole time, being at Roadrunner after talking about it with my friends. And the crazy part about it is not only was it me on stage, it was the photographer Neff, who we both had that moment because we were talking about it. So we were both on stage and we were just like, bro, this is crazy because we just talked about doing this. So
awesome.
So like to have that moment was really amazing as well, man. So that was like really cool, and just definitely one of my favorite experiences like as a musician so far. So shout out to them, and also being able to like 30 years for them and just being involved in that is just amazing. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean that longevity just in general for people, and I love when a band or a group or even an artist, right, like kind of does like comes back around and does like a tour. Like growing up, I was a huge Fleetwood Mac fan because of my mom. And obviously, I didn't grow up with Fleetwood Mac, but like,
is awesome.
Yeah, oh my God! And then it was really cool, like 5-6 years ago, when they were doing like really their last run.
I know, yeah. I wish I went to that.
Oh, it was great to go see them at the Garden. Yeah, I was at the Garden. I got to see him, and it was really
Stevie
great.
Nicks, bro.
Yeah, man.
Damn.
Yeah, you know who was really great, to be honest with you, was, believe it or not, Mick Fleetwood, who is the oldest of them all, and he still got the energy as a drummer, like just killing it. But it was so awesome to like be a part of an environment where like, yeah, you definitely had people that were like my mom's age who actually grew up with them and like saw them come up and were able to like relive all that. And then also like people around our age who like their parents were putting, or my parents or whatever were putting us on to that music, and just for them to still have it and like to be able to like sell out a crowd like that is really amazing. So like when I saw some of the pictures from the Locks concert that you were a part of, I was like, oh wow, like this was like a really packed out house. Like not that I was surprised, but like
that was sold out, all the way sold out, bro. It was crazy.
Yeah,
there was like 3,500 people, man. That was just, the energy was like, I could feel it. Like I wasn't even like, I wasn't nervous at any point. I was just so hyped because I could just feel the energy. I'm like, bro, I gotta go. Like I gotta go do this, But another show that was like that you like what you said recently that I went to was Damian and Stephen Marley. And it was really...
I saw Ziggy Marley last summer at Levitate.
They're coming back in September. I want to go see
really?
them, but that was really dope because I was standing next to like 70-year-old ladies and also like 25-year-old dudes, like, you know what I mean? So it was just a crazy mix of people and their longevity. And then also they were doing Bob Marley songs, so that all of that kind of falls into the whole thing. But when they were doing the Bob Marley songs, I'm like, bro, I feel like I'm watching like a ghost right now. It's crazy.
That's so cool. Yeah. No, oh my God. Well, even seeing like I like last year when my fiance and I went to when we went to Levitate, Ziggy Marley was like one of the. I was like, I have to see Ziggy Marley, and it like he blew like my expectations even that I had like out of the water.
Marleys
and
are amazing.
So amazing.
Yeah.
Like I haven't even seen the biopic yet. I really want to.
Damian
but
Marley is one of my favorite artists of all time too, man.
I love when he collaborated with Nas on that.
Bro, but even his own music is so
right. His
good.
own. Oh
Like,
my God, so good.
It's
yeah.
crazy. It's a different vibe, man.
Yeah, that Welcome to Jamrock song. I remember that was huge
That
at one
album,
point.
yeah.
That album in general was really, really good. But no, like you said, his solo stuff's really, really great. But I definitely, because we were talking a little off air about how much Nas fans we are and how, I guess we're both going to stand on it. But Nas is the greatest of all time. At least that's my opinion.
Nas is the greatest of all time.
I think Nas is the
no
greatest of all
way.
time.
I mean, Jay-Z is like right there too, but like, I don't know, man.
I think there's a
Nas is
longevity
different.
thing that's just different.
The last run that Nas went on is just too crazy.
With the King's Disease stuff. Yeah.
King's Disease 1 is like one of my favorite albums maybe of all time too.
Because when you think about it, right? Because it's one thing for like, then again, this is not a dig at the Lox by any stretch, but it's one thing for like the Lox. Like, and again, I think they did just recently put out an album too, didn't they? In the last couple of years,
Yeah.
I want to say. But just for Nas to like have, it's one thing for someone like the Lox to come out and like do another tour, play old music, like get people like sort of nostalgic. But for Nas to like each year, it seems over the last 3 to 4 years,
He dropped 6 albums in 3 years.
Yeah, well, okay, maybe it's 2. Yeah, then that makes sense. He's doing like 2 albums a year now.
Yeah.
It's wild.
And they're all so high quality, like
So high quality.
and it's just like he's in a different bag. He's like super refined. It's crazy. So
Yeah.
I mean, he's different, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just like so enamored with his resurgence, like, because I really feel like his last really good. I mean, the Nasir album I liked. I thought that was pretty good. But after that, I was like not sure if he was really gonna like,
I mean, all his
come
albums
back,
are
but-
good, but there's albums that he has that are great. And I mean, he's prolific in writing. So like every song is really great, but it's just some hit different than others. Like Life is Good is amazing to me. That was like the last one that I thought was like a full masterpiece. Cause then he had the one with Kanye. What was that? Isn't that one called Nasir?
That's one, the Nasir one. Yeah,
That's the one you were talking about?
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
like
yeah.
the 7-track
Yeah,
album.
that one was really
I like
good.
that one too. That Adam and Eve song with the Dream.
Yeah,
is
that
so
one. That
good.
one was really good.
Yeah.
He did Lost Tapes too, which was good. Mm-hmm. Really great. I mean, Adult Film on that album is amazing. That's like one of my favorite songs from him too.
For me, my favorite Nas album is definitely the self-titled one.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, that one hits different for me. I know we were talking about like that Fried Chicken song goes nuts. Hero, obviously.
I have to say, it was written for me, man. That one is
really good.
that one is like Escobar, like for real. You know,
That one is
That one, he's
next
just
level
like-
too. I really like it.
he's like kind of gangster, like on that
yeah.
one.
That's a top 3 for me too. And then of course like Illmatic's just classic, obviously.
I love
like,
Illmatic, but I don't listen to Illmatic like that. So like I
don't
give
anymore
I'll give
either.
it the respect that it deserves, but like realistically, I'm not like bumping Illmatic. Like that's why I feel like It Was Written is kind of better. But
It was more refined sound
it
at
just
that point.
sounds more modern. Like that is really old school hip hop. It was like 80s hip hop meeting 90s hip hop right in between, and it's like he was way ahead of his time for the time.
Yeah.
But like sonically, compared to what we know from him now, it's like that doesn't sound as polished.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think because it's weird too how I believe they came out like a year or 2 in between,
No, it was
right?
like 3 years.
Oh, was it 3? Okay. Well, either way, even still, right, for it to still sound, I agree with you. I think its written sounds a lot, it's at least aged a little bit better than Illmatic, just because Illmatic, like you said, has that such like really old school sound. Whereas,
I think he wasn't really competing with anybody. He was completely by himself in Illmatic. Like
yeah.
Biggie had just started coming out, like Jay-Z wasn't out yet, so he was like kind of like
Right.
his own lane, and then he had to start competing with Biggie and Jay-Z and Tupac and all these people. So that's why in '96 when he did that one, it was like way more different. I think that might have been it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's I like that album a lot too. Just dawned on me to ask this question. Might as well at this point while we're talking. Who are your top 5 favorite rappers of all time?
All right, top 5 all time. That's tough. All time, I'll say right now because it's constantly changing.
Yeah, like in this present
right
moment.
now, the top 5 I would say is
And I'm asking you on the spot too, obviously.
Jay-Z, Kanye West, and Nas don't ever leave. Like I don't know whatever order it changes, but those 3 are my top 3. And then I'd probably put J. Cole all time because he was so influential to me. Like even in my current music, like you can hear some J. Cole influences for sure. I mean, super influential, but I don't really listen to him as much these days. Dave East has gotten in there too. I don't know if like top 5 right now. Yeah, Dave East is in my top 5. He's just so nasty, bro. Like he's just real hip hop, and a lot of like he's like probably the best rapper out right now I could think of.
Good storyteller too. That makes. I mean, just based on the type of music you make, I think that makes sense.
Obviously, I have to keep going because like Styles P goes in there too.
He's up
Little
there.
Wayne goes in there.
Wayne, yep.
Those would be my top 7, whatever. So
Cool.
yeah, top 7.
In no particular, well, I think Nas is one just
Yeah.
because of the accolades.
Yeah.
I would totally put Andre 3000 in there.
Andre 3000 is another one
me.
for me, but I don't know if he's like in my top 5 because I like to think of like artists that like Andre 3000 had Big Boy a lot. And Big Boy is fire, and I feel like he doesn't get the credit he deserves as well. Because Big Boy is really like that, you know.
And Big Boy, to give Big Boy his flowers, he had a pretty nice solo run too after
Big
Outkast.
Boy is like that, and Andre is like that too. Andre is phenomenal, elite, top level, but he doesn't have like enough music by himself.
I can understand that
to
argument.
be like, oh, he's the best rapper, because like it's easy to do a verse on every song, you know what I mean?
No, I agree.
You can do that all day and be like amazing, but you know what I mean?
That's
But
fair.
to do albums and albums and albums of your own music is you know, that's what I like. Like
Yeah.
that's why I like Jay-Z, that's why I like Nas, that's why I like Styles P, like because he has so much music, you know? That's why I like these dudes.
Yeah, and Styles P had like not only the stuff with the locks, but he had solo stuff, and then he had like so many like mixtapes and just
Albums,
like
bro.
albums.
He's got mad
just,
albums. Like you can go on Apple Music. There's like 13.
It's crazy.
There's like 13
How many albums
projects,
that man
yeah.
has? Yeah. No, I agree. I can. I would not. If anybody said they want Styles P in their top 10, top fringe, top 5, like I wouldn't be.
Yeah, man.
I wouldn't argue against it. Yeah, mine would probably be Nas, Andre 3000. I'd probably have to put Kendrick in there for me. I feel like that makes sense.
I love Kendrick too.
It's tough to leave. It's funny. I had this conversation with Kirby like about 6 months ago, and we got a lot of flack from the Eminem stands and the comments because
Eminem is in my top. I don't know if he's in my top 10, but he's up there to me.
He
too,
has to be
because
at least in
he's
consideration.
really great. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people don't like Eminem or whatever, or hate on Eminem now, but like Eminem in 2003 or 2002 or 2000 even, it was the best. Like nobody was touching that guy. You know what I mean?
Show.
Nobody wanted any smoke with that guy. Nobody still wants any smoke with that guy.
I know. Eminem show, bro.
Yeah.
It was. Real quick, what'd you think of the latest album? The Eminem
I
album?
think it's a great album. Like I said, conceptually, I don't have any songs that I particularly like stand out to me, but I think overall you can still hear how amazing he is lyrically. You can still see like he doesn't care what people think, and which is what everybody likes about Eminem. And still has some deep songs on there. So like solid album for sure. It's not my favorite Eminem album, but it also just came out, so we'll see how it ages. But there's definitely like, you know, my favorite Eminem album was, as I said to you before, was Eminem Show for sure, like by far. And then Recovery, right? Was that the one? Yeah, Recovery. Yeah.
Yeah, we figured out that Relapse was not. You were trying to make sure.
I was confused between the two, but Recovery is the one that I really like.
Yeah, Relapse is the one with all the strange accents that I couldn't get down with. But my favorite Eminem song ever is actually on that album, which is Beautiful, which we talked about. But yeah, I would pretty much agree with your take on the album. I think I maybe like it a little less than you. I feel as though the one song that I personally, I think just because I'm such a huge JID fan, like that JID Fuel, like that's Fuel song, I will definitely go back to. That's definitely making a playlist, something like that. But yeah, like I wouldn't really. I think actually the single I liked too, the Houdini single, I did think was pretty nice.
I didn't like that song.
No, you didn't. Yeah. I was into it, man. I thought it was like, oh, okay, this sounds
cool,
a little bit
cool,
like him, you know, like with the Slim Shady stuff from before. But in terms of like, I don't know, is it an album I'll like have to go seek out and go back to and like re-listen to? Maybe here and there, but like I'm not gonna like be excited about like, oh, I have to go listen to like Death of Slim Shady today.
How do
But
you-
again, conceptually, I liked it a lot.
How do you listen to music? Like,
It's a great
do you
question.
listen to albums? Do you listen to singles? Like, do you playlists? Like, how do you do it?
It's funny. It's a really great question. For me, it's a mix of multiple things. Like if there's an artist that I really, really like a lot and they've dropped a single, like or haven't, like specifically like Eminem, right? Like I can't wait to listen to that Eminem single if it drops. Like I gotta go listen to it, right? Just, and it's not even so much of like, oh my God, I love Eminem. It's just like sheer curiosity at that point. But there are some artists, like for example, Denzel Curry just dropped an album. I actually haven't even, at the time we're recording this, I haven't actually even listened to it yet. But he dropped a few singles, and I was like, I knew he was dropping an album, and I'm such a big fan of his. I'm like, you know, I'm gonna wait to listen to everything in the concept of the album because I think that if you listen to a single, but then you listen to it within the confinements of the album, it actually can take on a different listening experience, right?
Yeah.
So I personally am an album listener. I always have been. That's what like kind of was the infancy stages of this podcast was like from like love of albums. Like I collect albums. Like I love these, like some of my favorite projects that I've ever listened to. Like a lot of these albums would be front to back. That top one
amazing.
is actually, that's actually Brockhampton's Iridescence.
Okay, gotcha.
It's not my favorite Brockhampton album, but the other Brockhampton albums you can't get on vinyl. So that's, I just got that one just because I'm such a big Brockhampton fan from in general. But like these are all albums that I could pretty much listen to front to back and like not you really like think much about it. So
Back to Black is really fire.
oh my God, dude. Amy Winehouse is just, her stuff was incredible. Like I loved her music, but yeah, no, I'm definitely an album listener, but you know, I also do like hearing, you know, it's funny. It sometimes depends on the mood too. Like there are days where I'm like, I want to go listen to like a nostalgic album that I haven't really bumped in a while. But I also really like finding new music, and I really do utilize like a lot of those, like Discover Weekly on Spotify. Anyone that doesn't, I know like Release Radar, you have New Music Friday, all that. But for anyone that doesn't know, I'm sure, and some people are probably listening to me right now going, dude, this is so obvious. Everyone knows this, but maybe you don't. If you go on your Spotify page, Spotify creates this this playlist called Discover Weekly. And basically it's like it takes like into consideration like an algorithm of like the different types of music you listen to, your tastes, whatever, and it gives you like 20 to 25 new songs every week that like you maybe have never heard, that are from like either underground artists or artists you haven't like heard before or whatever. And I love utilizing that playlist because like I find new artists that way. So yeah, I mean it depends, like especially in the summertime too, like I definitely enjoy like a nice playlist and like of different stuff, and especially while I'm driving, like, you know, I can definitely utilize playlists. So I think it's a mix of both, but from a traditional standpoint, I was always an album listener growing up, and I think like that has still stuck with me even in today's digital sort of streaming era. So how do you feel the same way?
This is the thing, like I get like on streaks, like I only listen to one artist at a time, which is crazy. Like I don't know what it is, but like right now, just because I did the Lock show, I'm like super hyper focused on the Locks, right?
Yeah,
like
that makes
Jadakiss
sense.
or Styles P or all their music, but like in general, I'll go like a month or 3 weeks of just listening to like Nas or like just listening to Jay-Z or stuff like that. I don't know why, but it's just like, and I listen to the full album, so like I'll go through their whole discography and just like listen to everything. But I do it a lot because I also like try to analyze a lot of it. You know, I try to like pick apart different, you know, why did they do this? Why is this song like this? Or what songs did they put on here? What are the concepts? Those reasons. But I just enjoy to listen to music as albums because I can just put it on in the car and just go for a ride or whatever. I listen to a lot of my music in the car because it just hits different.
Oh, likewise. Yeah. Same.
So.
Yeah, same. Especially, I'm sure when you've made a new song, you're like, you got to give it the car test, of course, you know.
Man. Like, you know, obviously I keep my music in rotation a lot just because for editing it and whatever. But
of course.
But yeah, I'll just like go months of just one artist, and then I can't listen to them for a long time.
Dude, I'm the same way. Like a great song will come out, and I will overplay the shit out of that song, and then like I'm like, oh damn, like I definitely overplayed that. Like I can't even listen to it anymore. You know, but it's awesome though when you hear a song like that and it just hits so hard like right away, and you're like, oh my god, all I want to do is listen to this song, listen to this new artist I found, right? Like I remember when I stumbled across Dominic Fike. He's like I'm a big fan of him, and when I started listening to him, it was like all I listened to for like probably a solid month. Like I was just going on all, especially when his album dropped. It's like his first really full length album. I just listened to that shit like constantly. So I'm right there with you. Even in this day and age, like I can find myself definitely honing in as well on like a specific song or an artist, because. And I think that's another piece of it too, where it does get like the oversaturation piece is a thing, and I get it, and it can be overwhelming. But sometimes it's like, if you just accept that like there's so much music out there, you're never going to listen to all of it. So just like be content with like what you have in your library and what you stumble across.
If I find something I like, that's it. Like I'm like that in just general. Like if I like something, I can't stop. Like whatever it is, like I just can't stop doing it or listening to it or going to see it or whatever it is. So that's just how I consume music too.
I like it. Very cool.
We had a question about Term Show though coming up.
Oh too. Yeah. I want to talk to you about Term Show, because we talked about the Locks one. So that's coming up this weekend. Lineup looks awesome. So I know he's been a huge inspiration to you, not only from a longevity standpoint of growing up, but like especially around in Massachusetts and like just how incredible. I mean, what album is he on now? 50 something at this point?
51.
Which is crazy. It's like Term, like huge shout out to you, man. Just like what you've been able to accomplish in your career is just incredible. And he's such a nice guy too. I've met him a couple of times as well, and really just gotten a great vibe from him. I was at his first album release party for the first Paul Wall album.
I remember that. Yeah, we were there together.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I did see you there. That's my God. I forgot about that you were there. Such a good album.
That was crazy. That was like right before we did our song Sacrifices. That was before I never really had met him like that before. Yeah. At that point,
he's just a great guy, and he does a lot in the community, and just like huge shout out to Term. But so I know like I want to talk a little bit about the song to the single. So how did the single come to be, and then how has that relationship obviously grown to now? Obviously, you being on like a show like Termanology and Friends.
All right, so it's funny because I'm like very into goals and like meditating and manifesting stuff or whatever.
Clearly, with the last Locks show too, you were just saying that. Yeah.
Right. So I had a list of 100 goals, and doing a song with Termanology was one of them. And at that party that we were at, I took a picture with him and I put it on the goals of things that I wanted to do. And so, which I don't think I ever told him that, by the way. He's probably gonna see this and be like, "What the hell, bro?" But so that was one of the things, and then I mean, it was simple as just reaching out to him and him liking the song that I had made. I went to the studio with John Glass and I was like, "Yo, I want to do a song with Term, so let's try it." So we made we were just in there making beats. He was just making a bunch of beats and just we were just bouncing ideas, and then we just found this one sample and it just sounded great, and we did it, and I sent the verse to Term, and he did it pretty quickly. Like I think it was a time in his life where he needed it. I mean, I don't want to speak on his behalf, but like I think his father had just passed, and the song's called Sacrifices, and he was doing a lot of like running around back and forth, and he just said he even told me like at the video shoot, he was like, "Bro, like this, you caught me at a like perfect time for me to write this." Because he was like he said he was gonna keep the verse short, but he just had so much more to say, so he just kept going. And so that was really dope. Then to get the song back, I was hyped because the song sounded awesome. Yeah. Then we did the music video, which was at this castle in Connecticut.
Beautiful music video, by the way.
That was one of my favorite videos to shoot for sure. And me and him got to like connect a little bit more. He thought I was from New York, which is funny, but I'm like, I'm so. He was like, "Yo, I thought you were from New York." I'm like, "Nah, man, I'm from Lynn," and it's dope because I'm from Lynn. That's like my hometown, but I also lived in Haverhill. I also lived in Lowell. I also lived in Gloucester. I also lived in Boston. So I lived in a lot of places. And so like 781 and 978 are like the area codes that I like resonate with the most. So the show that we're doing on Friday is called 978 Showcase or whatever, and 978 or Termanology and Friends 978 Showcase, I think is what it's titled. And, just to be around some of the best artists from the 978. I mean, the ST Squad, Termanology, Isha.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
She's up next, bro. Yeah, if not,
Isha's amazing, man. Me and Isha have known each other for a long time. Like when she was like really, really, really like 18 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Like, super young. And just to see her grow. We have the same birthday too, which is crazy.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. But it's dope, like to see her grow into, what she's doing. And it's dope to just be a part of that, and I'm excited for that show too. Because to do it in Lowell, I went to Lowell High, I graduated from Lowell High, so to go back there and do a show is gonna be really dope.
Mm-hmm. So, and I like that venue a lot. The Taffet is
I've never been.
It's nice. You'll like it. It's pretty good in terms of like capacity. It's quite large.
Do you know the capacity?
I believe it's like 500.
Oh, dope.
Or 450.
Oh, wow.
Something
Okay.
like that. It's a good size. I mean, it's not, it's not Roadrunner, but
That's
it's
fire, though, I know.
it might be. I mean, don't quote me on that. I believe it's around 500 though.
Yeah, that's really dope.
Maybe a little bit less, but yeah, and the stage is like really big, so you're gonna green room's really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one, man.
Yeah, that's a good show.
It's like I just keep having like full circle moments, like randomly throughout this music career.
But it's like you said a little earlier, and it's kind of a full circle moment when we're with this conversation. It's like you just keep going with it, and when you keep going with it, things inevitably will happen, right? Like
it's how to make it in America, bro.
Absolutely,
just keep going.
Absolutely, bro. I love it. My last question that I wanted to ask you about was I love your visuals. You've had so many great music videos, reels. All the visuals are awesome.
Yeah.
And then, especially recently, I know you've worked with Tange on many of them, and specifically this most recent one for Don't Look at Me, I think.
Don't Talk to Me.
Don't Talk to Me, excuse me. I don't know why I said Don't Look at Me, excuse me. Don't Talk to Me. And with the Orange Room visual, which was really, cool. I love his platform, by the way. Big shout out to you, Tange. I know I've talked about him
Tange
on the
man,
Rosewood Vape episode and some others.
He's a beast, man.
Yeah, he really is. And so, what do you think it is about that platform, specifically the Orange Room platform, that makes it so sought after for artists? And then, what does it mean to you to be amongst the roster of talent that has graced the Orange Room?
Well, Tange is a dope guy because he just is like very, like, he works hard. He gets credit that he deserves. He works with huge artists. He does amazing work for everybody. So he's kind of set himself apart in the sense of like high quality is expected, and he doesn't take anything less than like what he expects. So, he's had that platform for a while. I never got a chance to get on it, but over time, me and him have built a relationship, and I felt like I wanted to be on it years ago. I was like trying to get on it. Like I hit him up about it before, and to get on it was dope. And it's like that's like the closest thing we got to like on the radar basically out here. So he's like doing his own platform. It's a big, to be on his platform it's dope because he just has so many eyes on him. So for him to be able to share that with other artists and be able to help, whatever artists that he feels like are doing the work that he thinks is dope is great, man. So shout out to Tange for real.
I think it's a beautiful thing. We'll link that video in the description. But I loved it, and I like that. That's one of my favorite songs from your mixtape as well. So I'm glad you chose that one because that was a really good one. So yeah, Don't Talk to Me.
He chose it, by the way.
He chose it.
Yeah, he's the one who chose it.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, good taste, Tange.
Yeah.
I agree with the choice. Put it that way. Not that my opinion matters, but good decision. Yeah. Well, man, this has been such a I just want to say too, like it's been so great. Because I know, like, we got to know each other a little bit earlier on in your career and mine too, obviously, like with all of my endeavors. So it's just been really cool to, keep the relationship we've had as well, and just to continue to watch your growth and to like see all these successes and just to be able to applaud you for them and to continue. I just really believe in you as an artist and as a person, and I just think you're going to do great things, and you already have. So
thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I'm always in your corner. I just want you to know that, and Yeah,
same here, man.
And you got a great team around you. Obviously, you got Mike and Pat, that's a funny story. So Pat, his father has been my mechanic since I was literally 16.
Crazy,
so
man.
big shout out to Camille.
It's like small world out
Isn't
here.
it?
Yeah.
It's wild. Wildly small world. So it's really cool. But anyway, my last question, I can't leave you quite yet, or can't let you leave quite yet. We always do the open response at the very end of our show, and this is the dream song scenario. So you might have already answered this on your last episode. I should have looked back.
I don't think we did, no.
Oh, we didn't do it. Okay.
Actually, maybe we did. I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I'll have to look back.
Yeah.
Maybe some kind person can look at archives for me. But anyway, dream song scenario. So I'll structure for you. You get 1 to 2 producers and up to 3 guest features, and it's your song. It's a Suriel song, and you can have any artists dead and producers dead or alive on it. So who would be on Suriel's dream song scenario? Once again, 1 to 2 producers and then up to 3 guest vocalists and / features.
Favorite producer probably right now. in general would probably be like Hit Boy.
Makes sense with our Nas conversation.
Yeah,
Right?
Hit Boy. Hit Boy and Kanye West making a beat, which
crazy.
is kind of be dope for them. Those would be my producers.
Love it.
As far as rappers or features, I would probably have Miguel.
Ooh.
I love Miguel, man.
I don't think we've gotten Miguel on that. That's
Miguel,
like because we get Kanye a lot for the production, so I'm glad you. But Miguel, I don't think we've.
Miguel on the hook and maybe Nas on the verse. Or something like the feature like that, something crazy like that, yeah.
Well, Nas and Hit Boy got that chemistry right now.
That would
so
probably be the song I'd want to make, yeah, something like that.
That's sick. Well, Suriel featuring Nas and Miguel, produced by Hit Boy and Kanye West. I think it would be a #1 smash hit. Suriel, thank you so much for being here, bro. This has been such a great time.
Yeah,
great
man.
to have you
It's been a
back
pleasure.
in person finally,
Yeah.
right? Only thing left to do would be to plug away. So to the left camera, let people know where they can find you.
Yeah.
Anyone else you want to shout out? Anything last you want to say? Now would be the time.
Yeah, man, just make sure you follow me on Instagram and all socials at Suriel781. That's SURIEL 781. And make sure you just watch out for the Shelter tape. It's coming soon, and it's a really special body of work for sure. And after that, I already got another album ready, like locked and loaded. So we're gonna be like very flooding the market soon.
I love it. He's
Yeah.
keeping it rolling, people.
Definitely, 100%.
No, seriously, make sure you guys follow him. If you're unfamiliar with Suriel, you should get hip with him. He's got some fantastic music. And if you're a fan of Suriel and just being introduced to us for the first time, you can follow us at Turntable Teachers on Instagram and TikTok. Hit up our website, turntableteachers.com, for all the latest. And then, of course, if you're an artist, podcaster, or content creator of any kind, make sure to reach out to us at aoastudios.org to book your session or service today. Once again, Suriel, thanks so much for being here. It's been a great episode. As always, I'm Mike. That's Suriel with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially dismissed.
Turn.